The energy transition requires massive investments because, of course, we want to change the system completely. So the question that we address now is, how do market-based investments in electricity generation come about? In this clip, we will look at conventional power markets, whereas in the next one we'll look at how renewable energy impacts the electricity market. We will start with reviewing how electricity prices are formed and how they are related to investments. This is important because later we will see how renewable energy changes electricity prices and therefore also how it impacts investment in power generation. In electricity markets, the short-term goal is to minimize the cost of power generation. The short term means given the current set of power plants. So, for instance, which power plants should we run tomorrow? Of course, we want to minimize the cost. But which cost? We want to minimize the variable operating cost, because this is the direct cost of producing a unit of electricity. This consists largely of the cost of fuel and CO2 emission permits. And in power exchange, all the supply bids are ranked from low to high, and then the lowest bids are selected that are needed to meet demand. This ensures that demand is met at the lowest possible cost. The yellow area indicates the operating profits of the power plants that are running at this time. As demand shifts back and forth every hour, so do these revenues change by the hour. In case of a shortage, some consumers, typically companies, need to reduce their demand, but their willingness to do this is limited. As a result, when there's a shortage of electricity, the price may become very high. If there's not enough demand response, the system operator may need to implement rolling blackouts, curtailing groups of consumers in order to maintain the energy balance and keep the system operationally stable. So let's take a closer look at investment cost recovery. A useful graph for understanding investment in power generation is the load duration curve. The load duration curve shows the electricity load of all the hours in a year sorted from high to low. So in this curve on the left, the hour with the highest load in the year is shown, and on the right, the hour in the year with the lowest demand. Because the demand changes all the time, it can best be met with a mix of generation technologies. The curve shows that a certain amount of electricity is always consumed. We call this baseload. For baseload generation, we like to have power plants with low variable costs, low fuel costs. Traditionally, typical baseload technologies are coal and nuclear power. For the more limited number of hours when demand is higher, we want a technology that has lower capital costs. So for the medium segment, we like to use combined cycle gas turbines. They have higher fuel costs than coal plants, but because their capital costs are lower, their total costs are also lower for this more limited number of operational hours. Then we also have peaker plants, currently typically open cycle gas turbines. They are even cheaper to build, but have a lower fuel efficiency than combined cycle gas turbines. Given the cost of gas, they have very high fuel costs, so we don't like to run them for many hours. Now let's look at the price duration curve. It's similar to the load duration curve, as it sorts all the prices in a year from high to low. But you see that the shape is different. This is because during peak hours the price can go well above the variable cost of power generation. The reason is that during scarcity moments, consumers may bid up against each other because they really need the power. And as a result, power prices can rise to several thousands of euros per megawatt hour, whereas the average price of electricity is only in the order of 50 euros per megawatt hour. So this explains the high peak on the left of this graph. The price duration curve shows the number of hours per year that the electricity price is higher than the variable costs of a given plant. Of course, you will not run your power plant when the price is lower than your variable cost, because then you would spend more money on fuel than you would earn from selling the power that you produced in the market. So only when the price is higher than the variable costs will you run your plant, as indicated by the horizontal dotted line in this graph. That's the variable cost of a coal plant. So you see that the plant runs close to 100% of the time, which is normal for a coal plant. When the price is higher than the variable costs, the plant has a positive cash flow from selling power to the market. The volume of these revenues is equal to the yellow area, so the area between the price duration curve and the variable cost line, multiplied by the generating capacity of the plant. This area indicates all the operational revenues of the plant in a given year. If over the years these revenues are enough to pay off the capital costs of the plant, then it makes a profit. But this is not certain. So this graph is a simple way of seeing how many hours a plant would run in a certain year and whether it can recover its costs. Here we see the same graph for a peaker plant. The peaker plant has very high variable costs, as a result of which there are only a few hours per year that the market price is higher than its variable costs. So in this case, the green area is much smaller. This smaller area is all the revenue that's available for recovering its fixed costs. This is why a type of plant is used with low capital costs. So to wrap up, electricity prices are determined by the variable cost of generation, or if there's a shortage, by a consumer's willingness to pay. When the market price is higher than the variable cost of a plant, it will run. A plant's revenues come from this difference between the market price and its variable operating costs. In order to minimize the total cost of electricity generation, a portfolio of different power generation technologies is needed to meet variations in demand.